Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the press conference today. I'd like to welcome everybody today, and my first introduction will be to Dr. Susan Hanahan.
Good morning. I'm the chair of the Tobacco Settlement Commission. I want to welcome everybody here today. It's great to have so many people wanting to help Bobby celebrate this momentous occasion. I even wore my happy clothes today. I'm here to talk a little bit about the Tobacco Settlement Commission. Our responsibility is to provide administrative oversight and evaluation for the 7 programs that were funded by the Tobacco Settlement Proceeds Act of 2000. We're here to celebrate one of those programs, ABI, today. We have 6 others. Governor, I can tell you, are doing great work too. So these programs they're all health related. They're a diverse array of programs. They've touched hundreds of thousands of people in the state of Arkansas. They use concepts like education, prevention, treatment, service delivery, and research to do their work across the state. We use third-party evaluators to collect data. They've established metrics in all these programs, and we've aligned those metrics with legislative intent such that when we compile data, create a synopsis for the legislature, it correlates and can provide the legislature with great information about how well these programs are doing, what they were intended to do, and the successes of each program. Probably the most important thing I have to say today relates to the legislature. When many of the participating states were deciding what to do with their tobacco settlement proceeds, many started down the path of health. Others went way off course and decided to dedicate their funding to prisons or highways or education or whatever the case might be, but Arkansas committed 100% of its funding to those 7 health programs. As time went on, some of the states kind of changed course. They used their funds for shifted them from some of the health programs to other programmatic needs in the state, but Arkansas stayed committed to those 7 programs and have for all these years. That's very commendable. That's not true across the United States, and I'm very thankful that our legislators recognize that healthy people create healthy communities for a healthy Arkansas. So today, I want to thank our legislators, and I particularly want to thank all of our programs. We have 2 of our commissioners in the audience, Dr. John Henderson, who's one of our newest members, as well as Alec Johnston in the back, who is also a brand new member to our commission. So our commissioners, our program leads, our ABI directors, everybody who's working toward the better health, that outcome. Those healthy people in healthy communities in a healthy Arkansas. But I especially want to congratulate our ABI program today. I'm not going to say job well done because we're not done. We still have a lot of work to do, but they have certainly hit their marks, their metrics, some optimal and very impressive outcomes for the work that they've done since the inception of the Tobacco Settlement Program. So congratulations. Dr. Bobbitt, you're on.
Thank you very much, and good morning. My name is Don Bobbitt. I'm president of the University of Arkansas System, and I'm honored to serve as chairman of the board of the Arkansas Biosciences Institute. As you know, ABI is a joint venture, University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, UA Division of Agriculture, UA Fayetteville, Arkansas State University, and in fact, Children's Hospital. These are all vitally important contributors and institutions for our state, and ABI provides a perfect example of what can be accomplished when we leverage the strength of our state institutions toward a common goal. Research in any area, but particularly in healthcare, is virtually and vitally important to the societal and economic viability of our state and its citizens. As a former chemistry student and chemistry faculty member, I know firsthand that even the smallest research project can have a far-reaching impact. In fact, I recently learned some 35 years later about a project I worked on as an undergraduate at the University of Arkansas Fayetteville with Dr. John Mason. At the time, I was working on spectrum average cross-sections of nuclear reactions with potential applications in the medical field. After his retirement from the U.S. Army, I found out actually that the project had other offshoots, including shielding for the M1 Abrams tank for the U.S. Army. The full project, obviously, at that time was classified. My point being, though, that in basic research, we never know where those results are going to take us, and they can take us either to defense of the U.S. Continental United States, or it can take us toward healthcare advances. When we try to explain this value of research, we often forget that a project can be a very small part of a very large, important goal. ABI has, for its entire inception, had big goals for improving the health of Arkansas and Arkansans. And the state's investment in this institute is a wise investment in long-term health and well-being for all Arkansans. We're very lucky in Arkansas to have leaders who understand and value the role of research and learning. Chief among them is our host today, Governor Asa Hutchinson. Since his election in 2014, Governor Hutchinson has worked to make Arkansas a leader in education and economic development through efforts such as requiring computer coding courses in high school and traveling across the state, the country, and even the globe to promote the state's business and industry interests. He's a strong supporter of Arkansas higher education and the Arkansas Biosciences Institute. Please join me in welcoming the 46th Governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson.
Thank you. I'm delighted to join in this celebration and recognition of a milestone that has been achieved by the Arkansas Biosciences Institute. I have a little bit of history here, just in the sense of being in Congress in the 1990s and having an opportunity really to solicit federal dollars to help our Arkansas research institutions. And I saw then the incredible value that research brings in terms of the creation of jobs, in terms of intellectual property, in terms of revenue streams that can come back to a university or an institution. And so I was an advocate of research then. At the same time, of course, we had the tobacco settlement, and as has already been well articulated, we invested it wisely. We put a portion of it in research through the Arkansas Biosciences Institute, and all the institutions that participate in it have helped make it a success today. And I just like what's shown on the chart here. And whenever you look at the investment of what is 120-some million of tobacco settlement money that goes into the Institute, but that is leveraged with $500 million in additional grant funding. That statistic tells the story, in addition to the 350 knowledge-based jobs on these campuses, in addition to what I like below is the 34 patent grants that have been awarded. That means revenue streams, that means industry, that means technology, that means discovery. And my goal and objective in Arkansas is to create a strong job base in the state, which we have, but to increase pay, to bring industry, to improve our economy in this state, it cannot be done without research. And this has been one great tool in enhancing research in our institutions, and it's important to hold this research accountable in terms of recognizing it brings additional research dollars in, but also knowledge-based jobs and new intellectual property that is of benefit to this state. I hope it leads to entrepreneurship. I hope it leads to new lines of businesses here in this state through these institutions. So congratulations to each of you for your leadership and what you've done. And I am delighted to introduce Dr. Bobby McGehee, who's the Executive Director of the Institute, who's done an incredible job of leading it. Dr. Bobby McGehee.
Thank you, Governor Hutchinson. This is indeed a milestone celebration, having reached over $500 million. And I really want to sort of get two things across to you. One is that this leveraged money, for 14 years, we received our first funding in 2002. So in 14 years, we've averaged $36 million a year in leveraged funding. That's not what we received from the ABI and from the tobacco settlement. That's in addition. And it's important to realize these come from agencies such as the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, Department of Defense, societies such as the American Diabetes Association, American Cancer Society. These are agencies, federal and private, that fund research nationally and in some cases internationally. This is money that they have set aside for research that will go to research. It's not targeted for Arkansas. We have over 400 ABI investigators who compete for this money and at various times throughout the year. And without their competitive nature, we would not be receiving these funds. So this is money that doesn't necessarily get targeted to Arkansas, but because of the quality of our investigators at our 5-member institutions, it brings new money to the state, and it has been a remarkable ride. And it, as Dr. Hanahan said, we're not complete. We're continuing to fight the good fight. The other is that for 14 years, we've employed over 350 full-time equivalent knowledge-based jobs, as Governor Hutchinson just said. That's a pretty good sized company. Now, it's not all in one place like you think of as a traditional corporation, but spread across the state, it's quite remarkable. Thank you. And that's what we're celebrating. And, you know, it was really quite amazing. It took us 9 years to reach the first $250 million, and we had some press with that. But in just a very short 5 years, we doubled that. So our goal is, let's see if we can't double it again in another 5 years. So a lot of people contributed to this. Our legislators, our current governor, former governors, our ABI investigators, the Tobacco Settlement Commission. The ABI has a board of directors. Some of them are here today. I'd like to recognize them. And you heard from Dr. Bobbitt, who is our president, or the chair of the board and president of the University of Arkansas system. But we also have Dr. Chuck Welch, who is the president of the Arkansas State University system. We have Dr. Dan Ron, who is the chancellor at UAMS. We have Dr. Tom Fleming, who is here on behalf of Bill Slicker at the National Center for Toxicological Research. And each of our 5-member institutions have institutional directors, and 2 of them are here today as well, Dr. Larry Cornett at UAMS and Dr. Andy Sustich at Arkansas State University. Pardon? Oh, and who?
Joe Steinmetz. University of
And excuse me, and Dr. Joe Steinmetz at the University of Arkansas.
Doesn't matter.
He's so new, we haven't met, so it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. But we did want you to hear from a couple of ABI people in the trenches doing the work. First, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Jeff Wolchok. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Biomedical Engineering, and his work is on traumatic brain injury, as well as developing new biomaterials for skeletal muscle repair. Now, that may not mean a whole lot to you, but let me tell you in lay terms what it is, and the reason that we picked Jeff to come talk to us today. He did what we call in research sort of the grand slam. In 2015, he received funds, extramural grant funding from the National Science Foundation as well as the National Institutes of Health. And what that speaks to is the ability of his research to really cross human health as well as materials research and engineering. And he's done a phenomenal job. He's off to a great career at the University of Arkansas. So, Jeff.
Well, thank you. You've, I think, stolen my entire story. But as you had mentioned, my name is Jeff Wolchok. I'm assistant professor at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. There's about 60 students getting out of class today because I'm down here talking, so they're all very thankful to you. As the name implies, biomedical engineering is at this crossroads of biology and engineering. And what this means is that we have this training in biology that allows us to understand the problems that need to be solved, but also this engineering tool set that allows us to build unique materials and novel devices that can be used to solve these problems. It's a really unique field, and I think it really has helped with my success with what they're calling the Grand Slam, although I guess it is only 2, so now I guess we get a Grand Slam for reaching second, but we'll hopefully get 2 more. I'd like to say that, research is hard. All research is hard. It's unpredictable by its nature, And recently, it's become incredibly competitive. Gone are the days where you can expect to receive funding just for an idea or an interesting question. You really now need a solid track record with preliminary data and demonstrated productivity in your area of research, which then brings up the question, how do you get funding to collect the preliminary data that you need in order to get funding? And the answer for me and a number of other ABI investigators has been the ABI. We've used this seed funding to support students, to develop animal models, to either build or purchase important instruments that we've used to collect preliminary data that we then use to publish foundational papers. With this foundation, I have been able to successfully use that information and use that background to receive, over the last couple of years, $1 million in funding through the National Institutes of Health and the National Science Foundation. And I'm incredibly grateful to the ABI for helping us make that success. I sometimes like to say that what the ABI has provided me is a bit of a tailwind that's allowed me to get my lab up and running into the success that we have now and to the success that we anticipate continuing with. The impact of the ABI funding goes beyond just the publications, patents, and presentations that we give through our lab. One of the most important outcomes, I think, of our research are the numerous undergraduate and graduate students that train within our lab. These students are getting tremendous experience across a wide range of skill sets that they just can't get in the classroom. And I know from experience, by looking at my students that have come through my lab, that it makes them more competitive for graduate school, medical school, and industry positions. And I'm not alone. I'm just one of many ABI investigators. Our department alone, biomedical engineering, has been able to leverage the ABI funding to receive approximately $4 million in federally funded grants over the last 3 years alone. This has allowed us to do not just great science, but also to recruit strong graduate and undergraduate students from out of state, but also to retain those strong students that we have here in state. So I'd just like to express my appreciation to the ABI for the success it's really provided me, as well as the opportunities it's provided to the number of students that have come through our lab. So thank you.
Those were great comments and a wonderful segue into our next speaker, a student. Miss Sarah Beth Pitarrio was raised in Pine Bluff and Whitehall. She got out of her undergraduate at LSU. We won't hold that against her because she came back home. She joined the UAMS Graduate School and earned her graduate certificate in clinical and translational science under one of our ABI faculty, Dr. Laura James, and also ARA scholar. And Sarah Beth is now, when she finished her graduate certificate, she applied for and is now in her first year of medical school at UAMS. So Sarah Beth, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here today. I'm actually one of the students that is getting to skip classes for being here today. So thank you all very much. Well, my name is Sarah Pitarrio. As previously mentioned, I was a participant in the Arkansas Biosciences Institute research program last year through UAMS. Now, I did grow up in Pine Bluff, and then we moved to Whitehall. I graduated from Whitehall High School. I did attend college at LSU. Go Tigers, but please forgive me. But I was ready to move back home to Arkansas, to settle down here in Arkansas and to really prepare myself for medical school, for that journey ahead. I decided to enroll as a graduate student at UAMS, and I was told about a great program through the grad school that in conjunction with coursework would allow me to involve myself in translational research. Now, my research interests actually began as an undergrad. I focused on the extraction and sequencing of DNA to identify organisms from environmental samples. However, for medical school, I knew that I needed to kind of change that focus. I knew that I needed to become more involved in research that would be more directly applicable to patients, to medicine. And so that is where ABI comes into play for me. Through the Arkansas Biosciences Institute, I was able to gain some insight in how to translate scientific observations into clinical practice, otherwise known as the bench-to-bedside method. Under the mentorship of Dr. Laura James, I was able to assist in conducting research trials at Arkansas Children's Hospital. I helped recruiting patients for studies involved in acetaminophen toxicity specifically, but just in studying the pharmacodynamics of drugs commonly used in the pediatric population. I was also able to work with Dr. Joshua Kennedy at Arkansas Children's Hospital as well in the ER. We worked on a study that was involved in understanding the body's immune response in childhood asthma and in association with childhood rhinoviral infections, or the common cold. Now, these opportunities taught me both the strategies and the challenges that are involved in developing clinical trials in the pediatric population, but ultimately it taught me how important it is to further our research knowledge, to further our clinical trials, both for the betterment of patients, but also for the betterment of our community. Now, I'm now finishing up my first year of medical school, and I will continue my involvement in research. Specifically, this summer I'm going to be working on some obstetrical clinical trials. Now, I am incredibly grateful for these experiences provided me by ABI, and I hope that one day I'm able to contribute to our research knowledge, our research efforts here in the state of Arkansas. So again, thank you all very much for your support, and thank you for having me here today.
Well, I think if you heard one thing today, you heard the term leverage. And I think, Governor, this has been a good investment for the state. It's resulted in new opportunities for our citizens and, of course, new outcomes, hopefully, for their health. I thank you all for coming today, for sharing the celebration with us. And as Dr. McGehee and others have said, this is still the best is yet to come. So thank you again for attending.